What's up, y'all? It's Trey Cuts. This is the cut. You already know it. So I'm just chilling right now, getting ready to put out this tutorial for you guys. This haircutting tutorial will be my second haircutting tutorial. And this haircut, it's a dark Caesar. I did it on my homie Rakim. I appreciate you for coming out and checking out this haircut. Let me do this haircut tutorial on you, because I know I was moving the camera around all viciously when you was in there, and it took some time. But I really appreciate you for stopping in. So for those of you that don't know what a dark Caesar is, it's basically a haircut that's the same length all over, and it has a dark appearance, and you shape it up really sharp. It's a nice haircut. If you work in the barbershop, you know what the haircut is. If you don't work in the barbershop and you're a beginner, this will be a great haircut to watch, to learn some of the basic things about shaping up and going with the grain and going against the grain. So I appreciate you guys for checking my last haircut and tutorial out. Make sure you check this one out. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, give me a thumbs down. Make sure you tell me why. If you guys have any questions, comments, tips, or anything, just hit me up in the comment section, or y'all can follow me on Instagram at Trey Cuts with a Z and underscore at the end. Not going to hold y'all any longer. Check out the video. Check out the tutorial. Alright, y'all, so here's my tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to comb his hair out, because he has really thick curly hair. And if you know someone that has thick curly hair, make sure you comb it out so that your clippers don't have a hard time cutting through that hair and it's not uncomfortable for the client. Alright, so right here I'm using my WAHL Sterling Reflection Senior. This is one of my favorite clippers. If you know me, like I said before, this is one of my favorite clippers. I'm using the WAHL Premium #1 guard, and I'm cutting with the grain. So basically, cutting with the grain just means that I'm going to cut the hair in the natural direction that the hair grows. So you can see when I cut the back of the hair, predominantly on most people, the hair grows down on the back of the head. So I'm going to cut with my clippers down. Now if I took my clippers from the way you see them now and I turn them around and cut up, that would be considered against the grain. But right now I'm cutting with the grain. And the reason I'm doing that is because he told me that he wanted the haircut to be dark, but at the same time he wanted it to be low. So to achieve that look, I had to cut with the grain. You know, cutting with the grain sometimes can be spotty. It may not be as even on the first stroke, but after you go over it a few times, you will come out eventually with an even haircut. Cutting against the grain gives you a lot more even haircut. When you're cutting against the grain, it's easier to achieve a more even haircut. Cutting with the grain takes a little bit more work, but you can achieve the same look with a little bit of time and effort. Me personally, I like cutting hair with the grain more than I like cutting against the grain, because for me it gives it a better look. When you cut against the grain, you have to work a lot harder to get that hair to lay back down. When you cut with the grain, the hair is going to lay down because you're like brushing it down, kind of in a way, laying it down with the clipper in a way. So I'm just continuing to go around the head, go over the same spots a few times, and that's going to help me get an even haircut and lay the hair down. If you didn't notice, I didn't cut the crown yet, and the way I cut is I do the crown last. And the reason I do the crown last is because it can be some kind of difficult to cut sometimes, because you're working in a small space and the hair grows in a lot of different directions in that small space, and you have to turn the clippers a lot, as you will see me do now. So when you cut in the crown, make sure that you comb it out and you look at which direction that the hair is growing when you're about to cut it. You don't want to cut the hair in the opposite direction, because then they're going to have a light patch in the back of their head, and it's not going to be a good look. And you may have to take, depending on how light the patch is, you may have to take the whole hair down to that level, and then you have an unsatisfied client. And somebody probably going to want to mix. So don't do that, because you don't want to end up mixing over a haircut. It ain't worth it. So just make sure you take your time. Make sure you take your time cutting the crown. And some people actually have swirls in their crown. Luckily, he didn't have a swirl. His was pretty much straightforward. You could see the way that the hair was growing, like on the back of the head, on the back lower section of the crown. It was growing down on the sides. It was growing to forward. So it wasn't hard to figure out how his hair around his crown area was growing. So I'm just going over the crown a few times to make sure I got a nice even cut. Like I said, when you're cutting with the grain, you should go over the sections more than one time. I don't remember what we was talking about. We must have been talking about something funny because he cracking up. Keep going over those sections over and over again. It's going to help lay that hair down. Give you a nice even cut. And the more the hair is laying down, when it's time to shape it up, it's going to give you a lot. It's going to make the shape up a lot easier because the hair is laying down. And when the hair is straight, if you ever notice, when you cut straight hair that's laying down on the hairline, it cuts a lot sharper. The cut looks a lot sharper and more precise. So you want to get that hair laying down flat on the hairline. So right now I'm just brushing the hair out, making sure the loose hairs is out, making sure the hair is laying down really nicely, and I'm preparing it to follow my routine. I have a routine on. Anytime I do a Caesar or a low cut like this, I have a routine. Every haircut I do, I have a routine. Now this step is something that I wish I was taught by another barber. Now what I'm doing is I'm applying a astringent. Some barbers use alcohol, I use a astringent. I use alcohol sometimes when the client hair is really sweaty, or if it's a hot day outside and they come in really sweaty, or I feel like there's a lot of oil. So basically the reason I'm doing this is to pull those oils and the dirt, not calling anybody dirty, but to pull the oils and the dirt off of the hairline and the hair, so that when I'm ready to shape it up, it's nice. The hairline and stuff is dry. It doesn't have any oils in its skin or anything. So I get a nice clean section to work with, and it cuts the hair really crisp and sharp. So after you apply the alcohol around the hairline, you want to take the blow dryer on a cool setting and blow dry it dry and brush it down. Remember, cool setting, that's very important. If you use the hot setting, you can start making them sweat and pulling the oils out of their skin again, and you don't want that. You want it to be on a cool setting. Make sure you're brushing with the grain, of course. So right now I'm just applying some mousse, and this mousse isn't a holding mousse. This mousse is going to help lay the hair down and relax the hair, give it a nice soft feel. It's one of my favorite products to use on haircuts like this, because it makes the hair lay down really nice, but it doesn't give it that tight holding feeling like you have a bunch of product in your hair. It gives it a really nice feel. So I just make sure that I get it all over the sections that I'm going to be shaping it up. Make sure you're going with the grain. And the same thing, you're going to brush it down using the blow dryer on a cool setting, like I said before, cool setting, and brush it down to it's dry. And then you'll start to actually notice if that person didn't come in with waves after you use this mousse, then by the time they leave, by the time you're done your process, they'll probably have some waves up there. So watch, by the time I'm done blow drying his hair, you're going to see some waves. It's pretty cool. I love that mousse. I'm going to show the mousse that I use. It's by Vigorsaw. After I'm done, I'm going to show the mousse that I use. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. So you're just going to brush all over the head for a couple minutes until it's completely dry. The hairline's dry. Every section of the hair is dry. Remember, a cool setting. That's very important. So this is the mousse that I use. It's Vigorsaw. So right here I'm using my WAHL number 1.5 guard. And the reason I'm doing this is because I saw some dark spots in the back of his head that I wanted to get out. So I just use my one guard up from the one, which is a 1.5 if you're using the WAHL guard system, to get those dark spots out. So right now I'm using my modified and its T outliners, the skeletons or cut off, whatever y'all call them. I just call them cut off because that's what they are. And I'm shaping the back of his hairline up. Now in the back, the easiest way to determine where you should begin is look in the mirror and imagine the perfect V. So you're going to do one side, look in the mirror, imagine the other side. You have to be very visual sometimes and etch that line in. You don't want to go in too far. You don't want it to be a skinny V. You want to try to keep it out as far as you can on the neck and keep it as natural as you can. So now I'm just connecting the back to the front, going around the ear. And I pull the skin up. Sometimes I pull the ear down. Sometimes I pull the hair up, and I use the corner of my blade, as you can see. So now I'm going to pull the ear down just to clean that hair up around the ear. Make sure you're always brushing it down. Now on this particular client, he wanted his sides to be pointed at the end. Now he didn't want like the C hook points. He wanted the points to go straight down, kind of like ice pick points. I guess that's what they call them, or something like that. And when you do this, you have to understand that you are going to have to cut a little extra hair off of the hairline to achieve that look. Don't be afraid to do it. I know sometimes it might be a little uncomfortable, and if this client gets that style all the time, they understand that you're going to have that grow back. So don't be afraid to do it. Make it look good, but don't push them back too far, because that's another reason to be mixing, because I would be mixing if you push mine back too far. When I do the hairline, I just make a few notches in the front, and then I start on either side. Doesn't matter what side. The reason I started on that side was because this is the way the camera was facing. Wasn't no special reason why I did that. It was just because the camera was facing this way. So I started on the right side, but it wasn't no specific reason. But my beginning process for the for the front hairline is in the middle. And everybody has their own way, but I do mine in the middle. And you're not really going to see me do this corner. Now the corners are really important because it's the recession area of the hairline. So you have to be really careful, and you have to be really visual when you're doing the corners of the hairline, because some men are receding in that area. Some men want you to cut those baby hairs. They don't want you to go back all the way into their corners. You got to use them baby hairs. If you put somebody back, like I keep saying, that's another mix. You're going to be knocked out like Martin. Let me get a bucket of chicken and some sunflower seeds. You don't be looking like that. So make sure you ask them is it okay if you go back, or do you want me to try to keep it as natural as possible. You should be trying to keep it as natural as possible anyway. Make sure you take your time and looking in the mirror. The mirror is going to help you out a lot. So now I'm using my Andis style liner 2s on the other side, and the reason I had to use my style liners is because on the right side of my T outliners blade, it's a little like a tooth missing on it, and it hasn't cut anybody, but I'm uncomfortable using it because I don't want to cut anybody. So on one side I have to use my T outliners, but I did buy a new blade for it, so no worries. So right here I'm just fixing this side, and this is a problem that sometimes you're going to run into, and you have to be able to fix it and know what to do as a barber. Now what I did at the beginning, if you didn't notice, I measured the left side to the right side so I knew where to start. But if you could tell, there wasn't much hair in there for me to start as low as I wanted to, so I had to go a little bit higher to make this side look good. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to be visual, and you have to make adjustments based on what you're given. Every canvas or every head that you work with isn't going to be the ideal and perfect canvas. So you have to bend the rules a little bit. And the same thing here, I had to push it back a little bit because he wanted his corners to be pointed. So I'm taking my time and curving this in. So now I'm going to do the corner. And the thing about the corners is that if your clippers aren't sharp, you don't have good instruments, machines, you're not going to be able to get the corners in the shape up that you want. So make sure that your equipment is sharpened well and they're adjusted well so that you can get the lines that you want and the hair is laid down well. And this is really the reason the hair it's coming out so sharp, is because I laid the hair down really well. So laying the hair down and having good equipment is going to attribute to you having good lining on your haircuts. So I'm just going over it a few times, making sure it's nice and sharp the way I want it to look. So this is pretty much the end of the haircut, guys. I hope you like it. I have a few pictures that's going to pop up at the end. They aren't the greatest pictures in the world, but there's a few pictures of like the finished product. But I hope you guys can visualize what the haircut looked like from the video. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you like this haircut. If you have any questions, hit me up. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. Like, subscribe, share. Peace.